Now, this was mainly called as a great man theory because it most of the time focused on the innate, inborn qualities of the leaders. For example, we can take the example of the Catherine the Great, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Qaid Azam, Mahatma Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, Joan of Arc, and Napoleon Bonaparte. These were some of the uh, historical leaders, which were either social, political, or military leaders. In 1948, Stockdale suggested that no consistent set of traits differentiate leaders from non-leaders across a variety of situations. So this was one of the biggest challenge of this, certainly this very important school of thought. The researchers and the management experts couldn't agree on a set of traits and attributes which can make a person a good leader. An individual with leadership traits who was a leader in one situation might not be a leader in others. This was another challenge that the situations definitely change from uh, place to place, from organizations to organization, and from nation to nation. So, definitely, it is not always possible for one person to be successful in all situations. And this we could see in many cases around us. So, being a quality that individual possess, leadership was conceptualized as a relationship. This is the group theory, and we discussed the process theory also last time. That in this particular case, the most emphasis was the interaction and the relationship between the leaders and the followers. Stockdale, which was one of the proponent of the Traitist theories, that some of the very important characteristics, 10 very important drive for responsibility and task completion. So the first thing is that leaders possess a high level of drive to complete their responsibility and tasks. And they have vigor and persistence. They are untiring people and they always pursue their goals. They are risk taking and they are already uh, trying to develop the solutions which are innovative, which are not non-existing in many times, and most of the time these solutions also pose some risks. Uh, then they have a very high exercise initiative in social situations. They want to work with the societies and they have new initiatives. Self confidence and sense of personal identity. He always believed in himself. और इकबाल called this खुदी self awareness and he said that खुदी है मर्द खुदागाह का जलाल व जमाल कि ये किताब है बाकी तमाम तफसीर है. That your self confidence, self awareness, self control is basically uh, the basic essence and the basic beauty and the basic grandeur of the a person, and all the rest are the explanations of this. So definitely, once a leader is self-confident, he is self-aware, he is self-controlling, then definitely he can deliver at high level. Then willingness to accept consequences. This is very important. When you definitely want to differentiate between the leaders and non-leaders, you would see that the leaders are the people who are all the time ready to take the share of their failure, and they would always credit their team for the successes. And this is very important attribute of the leaders. They are ready to absorb internal personal stresses. This is very important that when they are working with the people, they are exposed to different type of stresses, and these stresses are very successfully managed by the leaders. They are frustrated, and when there are delays in the achievement of goals and targets, uh, they get frustrated, but they have the quality to tolerate under frustration. They have the ability to influence the behavior of others, and we will discuss later the social behavior theory and the behavioral school of thoughts. And then they have a capacity to structure a social interactions uh, system. So they will be very strongly interacting with the different organs of the society, with the different organs within the organizations, and there is a very social interaction system at different levels with the internal stakeholders, primary, secondary, and tertiary stakeholders. Now, if we look at the studies since Stockdale and then Mann, and again the Stockdale in 1974 revisited his attributes, and Lord and Kirkpatrick. These are some of the prominent 6 or 7 studies in the last almost 80 years or 8 decades now. And we can see that there is a big list of the attributes which the leaders normally have. Now, when we sum up the attributes and the characteristics, we see that one of the important is intelligence, and intelligence or intellectual ability is positively related to leadership. So normally it is thought that leaders are possessing high level of intelligence quotient, and they are people who have extraordinary intelligence sometimes. Based on the analysis of a series of recent studies on intelligence and various indices for leadership, Zarko and others found in 2004 for the finding that leaders tend to have higher intelligence than non-leaders. So their IQ level is normally supposed to be higher. Research also indicates that a leader's intellectual ability should not differ too much from that of the subordinates. This is another very important because if the leader is sometimes very highly intelligent, then maybe the people and the followers may not be understanding him. So either he has to come to the level of intelligence of the followers, or he must be compatible to the intelligence level of the followers. If the leader's IQ is very different from that of the followers, it can have a counterproductive impact on leadership. And we could see this in many cases where the leaders are highly intellectual, but unfortunately, the followers couldn't follow them. They may have difficulty in communicating with followers because they are preoccupied, because their ideas are too advanced, too complex, too uh, mm, complicated sometimes. An example of the leaders for whom intelligence was a key trait was Steve Jobs, founder and CEO of the Apple, who died in 2011. Jobs once said, "I have this really incredible product inside me and I have got to get it out." So this is one of the very important attribute, and for a long time the people would not be understanding or realizing the Steve Jobs intelligence level. Another very important attribute or trait of the leaders is self-confidence. That they have always the belief within themselves that they would achieve. They are untiring people, and they normally the good leaders would always believe that they would be able to achieve the high-level targets or high-level goals. So self-confidence is another trait that helps one to be a leader. Self-confidence, the ability to be certain about one's competencies and skills. So your belief in yourself, and I would quote Iqbal once again, that Iqbal said, "The gulami mein न काम आती है तकदीरें न तदबीरें न तदबीरें जो हो ज़ोक़े यक़ी पैदा तो कट जाती है ज़ंजीरें," which means that in the slavery you cannot be free person with the planning and with your destiny. Rather, you would need to have your trust in yourself, confidence, and that self-confidence, and the self-confidence that you have competent enough, you have the skills, and you can move out of the present scenario. It also includes the sense of self-esteem and self-assurance, and we sometimes call it khudi, that you are trusting yourself and giving yourself a high esteem, and you are sure that you can achieve these goals. And the belief that one can make a difference. Leadership influencing other than self-confidence allow the leaders to feel assured that his or her attempt to influence others are appropriate and right. And this is really very important in a very challenging situations because most of the time we see that people would not be believing in your strengths, and they may not be sometimes even ready to support with you. And if you don't have your trust within yourself, then definitely it would be very difficult for you. When Steve Jobs described the devices he wanted to create, many people said they were not possible, but Jobs never doubted his products would change the world. And despite resistance, he did things his way, the way he thought best. Job was one of those CEOs who ran the company like he wanted. He believed he knew more about it than anyone else, and that's probably he did, said a colleague. So I think this was the high level of self confidence of the Steve Jobs that created the Apple company. Determination, yes, of course, the determination is basically the desire that includes characteristics such as initiative, persistent dominance, and drive. Yeah, many times we have the self confidence, but sometimes we cannot start with the new solutions. We don't start, and that kills the leadership. So, determination is based on things like how you initiate your solutions, your change management, and then how persistently you are following your goals and objectives, and how you create dominance over your followers and how you drive them. Uh, we can take the example of Dr. Rutfa, who led the eradicating of leprosy in Pakistan, and she was certainly a great lady who was involved in dealing with the people who were not touched by others because of the leprosy, and she has been working in north of Pakistan for almost something like 80 years or 85 years, working with the community, and her determination was really very high. The integrity again is very important because you see that if the quality and trustworthiness is not there, and we will later on discuss how the integrity is important in the authentic leadership theory, and in this honesty and the people, the way the people need to trust you, and the way the people believe in you that you are a honest and worthy of trust person. Leaders with integrity inspire confidence in others because they can be trusted to do what they say are doing to do. This again is very important because if the leaders are not following the principle which they establish for the followers, then definitely there won't be any change in the followers. And unless you don't become a role model and what you preach and what you profess is not practiced by you in person, then definitely people would not be believing in you. They are loyal, dependable, and not deceptive. Basically, integrity makes leaders believable and worthy of our trust. Scandals in corporate words like Enon and WorldCom have led people to become skeptical of leaders who are not highly ethical. So this is even after the aftermath of the Panama leaks in the early uh, this decade, the mid of this decade, or around to 2015 and onwards, we could see that it created a lot of integrity questions over the world leaders. Another very important attribute or trait of the leaders would be sociability. That they would be sociable people, they would have a pleasant social relationship, they're friendly, outgoing, courteous, tactful, and diplomatic. So they would never be trying to socially distant from the people in the sense that they would not create the barriers for sociability. They would be very courteous in meeting the people, and they would have a very pleasant personality. They are sensitive to others' need and show concern for their well-being. This is really very important as a leader. You have to show empathy towards the need of your followers. Uh, when we look at the personality models for leadership, there are five very common kind of neuroticism, extroversion, openness, agreeableness, and conscientiousness. The neuroticism is the tendency to depressed, anxious, insecure, vulnerable, and style. Uh, it's a higher personality trait in the study of psychology. Individuals who score high on the neuroticism are more like than average of to be moody and to experience a feeling of anxiety, worry, fear, frustration, anger, inward jealousy, guilt, depressed mood, and loneliness. So this is the kind of leadership which are kind of anxious people. Then extraversion, the people who would assert and they would like to use their energy in a positive way. Openness, this is the tendency to be informed, creative, insightful, and curious. Agreeableness, the tendency to be accepting, conforming, trusting, and nurturing the people. And conscientious viciousness is basically the control, dependable, and decisive. So these are some of the models in the individual personality of the we discussed these slides last day, so I would skip it. But I'm not sure that whether this is the appropriate slide or not. But definitely, we would see that